A world where fantastic creatures live alongside humans and magic is real. Not confined to some distant medieval fantasy of the past, this setting takes place during the modern age. With cyberpunk overtones, this is a world where technology thrives, life is cheap, and corporations wield untold power among the ruins of forgotten governments. This is the universe of Shadowrun. Originally conceived as a tabletop RPG by a team of developers at FASA Corporation in 1989, Shadowrun has since spread to other mediums such as novels, video games, and collectible cards. The world itself diverges from ours in the 1990s when American President Jeffrey Lynch, faced with a ballooning national debt, launches a series of policies that privatize the nation, leading to reduction of federal programs and military expenditure. Around the dawn of the new millennium, the Supreme Court rulings, known as the Saratek and Shiawase decisions, granted multinational corporations the same rights as foreign governments, including the ability to maintain private armed forces. In 2009, a group of renegade Native Americans launched an ICBM at Russia in what became known as the Lone Eagle incident. Although the attack was intercepted, it would lead to large numbers of Native Americans being sent to re-education camps. Things would only get worse the following year as the virally induced toxic allergy syndrome, or VITIS, plague, resulted in the deaths of 1/4 of the planet's population, leading to yet more geopolitical instability. The stage was set for the Great Awakening, with the Mayan calendar reaching the so-called Sixth World in 2011. The world was flooded with magical energy known as mana, and the ancient dragons of ages past emerged from their lairs, along with new flora and fauna. With the sudden return of supernatural power to Earth, unexplained genetic expression, UGE, caused some children to be born as elves or dwarves, while a decade later, Goblinization Day occurred that caused more mature humans to mutate into trolls or orcs. Understandably, these events caused widespread panic and discrimination against these new metahumans. Having waged a guerrilla war against the increasingly unstable United States government, Native American forces would conduct what was known as the Great Ghost Dance on August 17, 2017. Led by the prophet Daniel Howling Coyote, a collective of magi and shamans completed a ritual that caused a massive cataclysm of magical energy, resulting in volcanic eruptions and earthquakes that redrew the borders of North America. With the old government conceding defeat in 2018, the Treaty of Denver granted sovereignty to various tribes with land now known as the Native American Nations, NAN, alongside the United Canadian and American States, UCAS, and the Confederated American States, CAS. The rest of the planet has also been left heavily balkanized by events surrounding the Great Awakening. Western Europe now consists largely of the Celtic Union, with Ireland ruled by powerful elven magicians under the name Tir na Nog. Eastern Europe is a largely lawless area, politically unstable, and menaced by the resurgent Russian Federation. The Middle East seemed to have its existing problems exacerbated by the international calamity. A mecca of magical energy, the area has become a battleground of not only mega corporations vying for control of oil reserves and occult relics, but also the returned jinn. Opposing Western and corporate influence through both militaristic and magical means, the Neo-Jihad movement has arisen, with the newly formed Arabian Caliphate uniting various peoples under the banner of fundamentalism. Largely untamed even before the awakening, Africa has since become a patchwork of various nations, corporate vassals, and lawless zones. Although it has territory highly coveted for natural resources, much of Africa has been difficult to exploit since the emergence of deadly plant life, magical beasts, and spirits actively oppose corporate ingress. Witch doctors following rekindled magical traditions also wield powers capable of fending off political rivals as well as encroaching corporations. A technological and corporate powerhouse, Asia finds itself at odds between its cutting-edge cybernetics and revered ancient traditions in the Sixth World. Currently ruled by the Japanese Imperial State, JIS, commonly known as the Dragon Empire, Japan is also home to some of Earth's largest megacorporations. China has since fractured into various independent states under the leadership of warlords and corporate entities, with dangerous technological and magical pursuits. Many Southeast Asian nations are war-torn areas infested with criminal enterprises or corporate oligarchies, although magical creatures have laid claim to much of Malaysia and Indonesia. Finally, the Indian subcontinent suffered greatly during the Vedas plague and ensuing war with Pakistan, later rebuilding itself as the Indian Union. The traditional caste system of the area remains in the Sixth World, with the Brahmin associated with higher magical potential, while its economy acts as a hub of foreign megacorporations and outsourced labor. At last, Latin America finds itself embroiled in various conflicts as indigenous people wield powerful magic, corporations seek to extract resources, and other factions seek to assert their independence. In particular, the nation of Mexico has become Aztlan, a corporate nation-state under the Aztecology Corporation, where citizens function as employees, and blood magic, harkening back to the Aztec and Mayan empires, is used along with technology to amass wealth. Not to be underestimated, the fiercely independent nation of Amazonia has emerged from a coalition of tribes led by a dragon. A nation with access to potent magical power, Amazonia and Aztlan often find themselves as rivals. With the Great Awakening and emergence of the Sixth World, the return of magic has been a monumental event. Essentially, magic is the manipulation of the mystical energy known as mana, which is produced and connected to all living things. A parallel dimension, known as the astral plane, acts as a reflection of the material world, and may allow magic users to perceive spirits, emotions, auras, or project their consciousness. Wielders of magic can be divided into two basic groups: magi, who use it to cast spells, and adepts, who use it to enhance their bodies. Using this power has consequences, however, since doing so results in a backlash that can exhaust, injure, or even kill the practitioner, depending on the power of the spell. Various traditions exist surrounding magic, such as shamanism, voodoo, druidism, hermeticism, and chaos, each having a pragmatic or spiritual view of magical energy that determines their methods and what kind of spirits they can summon. Incompatible with technology, an individual that has augmented their body with cybernetics will have reduced essence, or life force, and will find their ability to use magic permanently reduced. Of course, the aforementioned metahumans have also come into being along with magic users in the Sixth World, often facing discrimination or violence from baseline humans. They have formed their own societies or have gone underground. More than just a superficial appearance, metahumans and their subtype metavariants have gained distinct characteristics and abilities. These metavariants often depend on what region they live in, such as Europe or Asia. Elves, true to their popular Tolkien stereotype, possess tall, slender bodies with long limbs and pointed ears. With natural grace and charisma, they have an affinity for magic and live longer than normal humans. Their metavariants include the all-female race known as Dryads, or African Wakiyambi, among others. Less aesthetically pleasing are dwarves. Shorter than most humans, they have a dense muscular build augmented by high body fat. Able to see in the dark, their physiology also grants them superhuman resilience and stamina. Renowned for their skill with technology, it is a trade-off for their limited magic ability. It is worth noting, however, that one of their smaller meta-variants, gnomes, have a strong magical connection. Other dwarf subtypes include the simian Harumen of India and Hawaiian Menehune. With an imposing figure, protruding tusks, and powerful physique, orcs typically induce fear wherever they go. Rarely living past their early 40s, most are forced to eke out a living as laborers or fighters. Due to their short lifespans, orcs are known for their reckless behavior and often fall into criminal lifestyles. Their meta-variant subtypes consist of the fearsome hobgoblins, corpulent ogres, lecherous satyrs, and fabled oni of Japan. Of all metahumans, trolls are perhaps the most loathsome. Immense creatures looming over most humanoids, their heads are topped with horns, and they share the orc traits of tusks, a shortened lifespan, low light vision, and increased strength, albeit to a greater degree. Already resilient, their skin also contains bony plates that provide natural armor, making them formidable opponents in combat. The meta-variants of trolls are just as monstrous, including giants, cyclops, minotaur, and fomorians. To complicate matters further, the passing of Halley's Comet in 2061 produced what became known as surge metahumans, or sudden unexplained recessive genetic expression, to emerge. Whereas UGE and goblinization resulted in standard metahumans, surge created changelings out of humans and metahumans. These included reclusive pixies and the supernaturally beautiful Adonis, among others. New forms of animal and plant life arose as well, such as demon rats and horned bears. This event also resulted in widespread rioting and chaos, similar to what transpired during the Great Awakening in 2011. The Sixth World fought with not only new creatures and magical powers, but also new diseases, known as the HMHVV virus, or Human Metahuman Vampiric Virus. Those infected undergo changes to their physiology that cause them to become predatory, granting new strengths as well as weaknesses. The Krieger strain of the virus appears to be the most common, transforming its victims into what are known as ghouls. Taking on a gaunt visage and growing claws, they will crave the flesh of humans and metahumans, seeking to replace the essence the virus is constantly draining from their bodies. Ghouls may have a heightened sense of smell and physical resilience, but their vision is altered to be blind to the material world and only perceive the astral plane. Often hunted due to their nature, they live in underground communities known as nests. Another variant of the virus is the Nosferatu strain, turning those that contract it into vampires with increased strength, speed, and agility. Unlike ghouls, they feed on the blood of their victims to replenish their essence, and have a seductive appearance they can use to integrate into the upper class of society while concealing their true nature. Vampires have a known allergy to wood, and sunlight can be lethal to both creatures. Different metahumans are susceptible to different strains of the HMHVV virus, such as elves turning into shrieking banshees, and orcs that may be transformed into terrifying wendigo. As mana returned to the world at the dawn of the New Age, it ushered in new material and immaterial beings, as well as transforming existing ones. Like humans, animals could be transformed into meta-creatures, such as bears turning into meta-bears, reptiles morph into deadly basilisks, or even horses becoming unicorns in areas of high magical concentration and natural purity. Spirits have also manifested from the astral plane in the form of elementals summoned by magi seeking to harness wind, fire, earth, and water, nature spirits of the rivers and forests that ally themselves with shaman, and even free spirits that act as a power unto themselves. Insect spirits also exist, having been known to possess living creatures and turn them into drones. On an even more insidious level, the return of mana, specifically the Great Ghost Dance, opened the way for the extra-dimensional entities known as horrors to enter the world, eldritch beings that feed on fear, magical energy, and essence. Of all creatures arisen by the emergence of the Sixth World, however, dragons would be the most powerful. Capable of hibernating for thousands of years, they are immortal, ranging in size from that of a large truck to ones as immense as a skyscraper. With unmatched magical power, they have the ability to shapeshift between their monstrous draconic form and their smaller humanoid form. Great dragons are not only the largest, but also amassed great power and wealth over the ages that have made them major players in the Shadowrun universe. Lofweir, the CEO of Satyr Krupp Megacorporation, Dunkelzahn, former president of the UCAS, and Ryumayo, Emperor of Japan, are just some of their examples. Ghostwalker, despotic ruler of the city of Denver, is also of note. Lesser dragons are not as old, but still wield significant power as warlords, crime bosses, or corporate oligarchs. Finally, rare metahumans known as drakes carry draconic lineage, and may even temporarily transform into a draconic form. As with any cyberpunk setting, technology plays a key role in the world. With the crash of 2029 wiping out the old internet, the Matrix, a global wireless computer network, took its place as a mix of public zones and corporate grids. Often accessed through a handheld device known as a comlink, the Matrix is experienced as an augmented reality of data overlays on the physical world, or as full virtual reality, where the user's consciousness is fully immersed in the digital world. Being such a vast source of information, it is a rich target for hackers. This is usually accomplished by using a portable computer known as a cyberdeck by those called deckers, although rare metahumans known as technomancers may interface with the Matrix with no need for hardware. Robotic drones have become ubiquitous across the setting, with augmented riggers able to control fleets of them, responsible for everything from the transportation of goods to corporate security. Mechanical technology implanted into the body, such as a data jack to interface with the Matrix, or a powerful robotic arm, is known as cyberware, with those using it to amplify their strength and senses to superhuman levels known as street samurai. Similarly, BioWare is a biologically engineered technology that functions the same way without the artificial feel of cyberware. Other notable additions include SmartLink weapons that mentally interface with their user's comlink or cyber eyes, as well as cred sticks that store digital currency. The crash of 29 caused such a massive feedback that sentient artificial intelligence arose from the various programs and systems of cyberspace. Existing purely within the Matrix, AIs are often powerful entities despite lacking a material form. Distrusted by governments and corporations, hackers have been known to negotiate with them to provide data or a tactical advantage. Forming their own community in the digital world, crossing an AI is ill-advised, since they may destroy the minds of those interfaced with the Matrix or manipulate hardware. Responsible for manufacturing everything from medical supplies to cybernetics to military hardware, corporations rule the world of Shadowrun. Megacorporations comprise the Big 8 AAA companies that are considered the most powerful in existence. with armies of mercenaries and vast territories. A household name despite their reputation for ruthlessness, Ares Macro Technology is one such corporation. Led by former Special Forces operative Damian Knight, they have interests in the weapons, security, and aerospace fields, as well as fast food and entertainment. Considered the king of the Matrix, Japanese corporation Mitsuhama Computer Technologies, MCT, is coldly efficient in their development of computer technology, often in a state of war with their sister company, Renraku Computer Systems, which focuses on robotics, cyberware, and telecommunications. The Chinese company Wuxing Incorporated, specializing in logistics and security, they also employ powerful magical practices. Horizon Group has risen to prominence after receiving the majority of Dunkelzahn's wealth following his death. On the surface, this company seems to be nothing more than an entertainment and social media giant, but actually utilizes pop culture and subtle mind control to sway the population. As these companies and more vie for power, they find themselves in need of individuals willing to undertake illegal and dangerous missions. Known as Shadowrunners, these are who give the franchise its name, acting as deniable assets with no official affiliations. Behind the scenes, secret societies have amassed their own power and influence. Created by Dunkelzahn, the Draco Foundation exists to protect and research magic for the betterment of metahumans. This puts them at odds with the Black Lodge, a collective of magicians that seek to harness magic for their own ends, often involving human sacrifice or forbidden rites. A loosely organized faction of individuals, it is the anarchist movement that seeks to dismantle the power of governments and megacorporations in the aim of ultimate freedom. Although the corporations frequently violate the law, overtly criminal organizations make use of Shadowrunners as well. More sophisticated than just street gangs of disillusioned youths and outcasts, such as the Halloweeners or Sons of Sauron, they rival major companies in terms of influence. Of these, the big three of the criminal underworld have emerged that are in a constant state of war against one another: the Triads, the Yakuza, and the Mafia. Based in China, the Triads are a fractured network of syndicates prone to infighting, specializing in smuggling, extortion, and human trafficking. Their Japanese counterpart, the Yakuza, holds antiquated views of honor out of sync with modern society. Active across the Pacific Rim, they traffic in arms and narcotics, as well as corporate espionage, and even have their own sections of the Matrix. As ever, the La Cosa Nostra, or Italian-American Mafia, maintains a presence in the cities of the former United States and the Sixth World. Allying with governments and other criminal groups, they deal heavily in blackmail and corporate crime. Renowned for their brutality, the Vory v. Zakon is the Russian version of the Mafia, with many members holding places of authority in legitimate businesses. Feared throughout Eastern Europe, they focus on technology, black market cyberware, and magical artifacts. Among the vast population, apart from the corporate CEOs and legendary dragons, some individuals have gained enough fame and notoriety to stand out. In shadowrunning circles, Fast Jack has acquired a reputation as an elite decker, operating a private server in the Matrix known as Jackpoint. He hosts other Shadowrunners to plan jobs, trade information, and share stories. Also renowned for his proficiency in the digital world is the quirky Captain Chaos, a skilled rigger and technomancer. Having survived since the Fourth World, the immortal elf Harlequin has reached near-mythical status among magic users. Somewhat of a trickster, he weaves plots from the shadows, his agenda known only to him. His ally, Aran the Scribe, is a living repository of ancient knowledge and seeks to preserve traditions while guiding meta-humanity. pitting the forces of magic and fantastic creatures against a modern age of technology has truly made Shadowrun a unique setting. Countless missions await for Shadowrunners looking for a big payday. After all, even in a world of dragons and wizards, corporations still have to turn a profit.
Hi guys, you're watching Excalibur Forge for gaming, reading and more. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. Follow along on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter.